Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all criminal charges.
As the country still holds its breath for possible fallout of the verdict, the reflection also started.
What have we learned from this, and what was at stake should the verdict be otherwise? Hello everyone, welcome to Wei and Cathy show. I'm your host Wei Fang.
I'm Cathy Zhang.
Wow, I don't know how you think, whether you have pay attention to the news. It is quite a day today.
Yeah, I'm sure, everybody has his eyes, his or her eyes on the verdict today on the Kyle Rittenhouse. The teenager was accused of killing 2 people and hurt another one during the unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin last summer. But the jury just delivered a verdict after 4 days of deliberation, saying that found not guilty on all 5 charges. So the 12-person jury deliberated for more than 25 hours over the course of 4 days, and this morning they made the decision. So actually, as all kinds of reactions coming out, people reflecting just from different angles, we actually did 3 shows today. Mm-hmm. So what did he said in the shows? Of course, those are the, for our Chinese audience. So we're gonna just mainly have a way to share his observations, his analysis for our show tonight. So first of all, just to wonder what's Wei's view on the acquittal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little rare. Normally, I serve as a journalist just as well as Cathy, right? But now today, I'm sort of sharing my observation because as a Chinese American, we went through a lot of things. And then also in this country for 30 years, we have enough observation. So I share of those with my Chinese viewers. Excuse me. And it was well received. So that's why I want to take this effort, take this opportunity, and share with you my observation of the matter, and especially what is the consequence of this trial should the verdict be otherwise. Yeah, first of all, okay, answering Cathy's question. So why the acquittal, right? Why the acquittal, right? At the core of the issue is whether it's a self-defense, as we all know.
Right.
And needless to say, okay, for Kyle Rittenhouse himself to take the stand, and tell his side of story, as we all know that he broke down halfway, couldn't talk, just cannot talk because the tear was running out. So the judge ordered a recess. Then later he come back and recount what happened the other day. As we all see this young boy, he's 18-year-old, and last year he was 17 years old. He appeared to be pretty genuine, trustworthy. He seems to be a kind of kid. I think the whole nation observed that. But not just that. Okay, actually, at least 3 witnesses and presented by the prosecutor. Okay, tell the story for Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, the first the witness from the prosecutor side indeed recounted how the Rosenberg, okay, the person who was shot by Rittenhouse and died, and he said that night if I catch any of you guys alone tonight, I'm going to fucking kill you. And that's one thing. The other witness indeed recounted that this is a photographer of the Daily Caller. All right, he provided a crucial evidence the other during the trial, saying that Rosenberg was holding and trying to wrestle the gun, okay, the barrel of the gun or of the rifle that Kyle Rittenhouse held, and then that's give a very vivid sign to the juries that if that grab was successful, what would happen next? What would Rittenhouse feel and respond at that particular moment?
So obviously it can show how Rittenhouse was at danger, right? Threatened.
And the Gross Cruz, right? Gage Gross Cruz, who's the person who was shot at the arm, the third person, he actually testified that he pointed the gun first to the sky and then to the Rittenhouse. And it was at that moment Rittenhouse pulled his trigger. So basically, this is a witness from the prosecution side. And then it just tells story. It doesn't seem to be difficult to see that this is a self-defense case. But okay, the jury closed their door and thought it over for 3.5 days. All right, altogether nearly 26 hours deliberation. And then apparently the jury was serious. Okay, they did not just rush to a decision that they premeditated. They ask for the video, and then they ask for evidence. They talk among themselves, and finally it's a consensus. Okay, 12 juries all agree that they would acquit. Okay, they would acquit Rittenhouse of all these five felony accounts, felony charges. So that I would say, this is on the surface that would be the case, but that's not essentially what I do want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the essential issue at hand, do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, taking a long breath, especially Kyle Rittenhouse. My question here is this, because we have to reflect upon this, right? And what do we have learned, and what do we need to be aware of? Let me ask you this question, folks, because the reason why we're doing here, we also want to invite you to be part of this dialogue, okay, discourse, right? And how you think about this. What if he's found guilty on one or multiple felony accounts? What if that happened? Indeed, there's a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure upon those juries. They were identified, okay? They are not completely sequestered, okay? They were identified. People know them. And a lot of pressures. The country is still holding its breath of what could happen now. Will that be riot tonight, tomorrow night, the day after? We don't know. There's a lot of pressure for them to make their own decision. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is this case is very, very crucial, especially if the verdict is not guilty. Okay, the reason, let me share with you my point of view. Okay, there are 3 constitutional amendments are at stake on this matter. The first one, of course, as we know that is the Second Amendment. Maybe we can just show the Second Amendment. As you all know, very simple. All of you know about that. I just want to talk about it a little bit. Okay, it says a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. That's the first half of the sentence. The second says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All right? So in the case like this, okay, if Kyle Rittenhouse were found guilty, okay, so what's the implication of that? In my view, the implication will be huge. Okay? Because if he were to be found guilty, he would spend his, especially intentional homicide. He will be sentenced to life sentence in jail.
Yeah,
that will be the consequence.
Yeah, it's like his life just gone, right? Only 18 years old.
Yeah, just look at the Second Amendment. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, the amendment did not say that to keep and bear arm and use it, right? That's implied. However, if in the case like this, Kyle went through everything that he went through, and then when he pulled the trigger, he was sent to jail for a lifetime. What kind of message would that send? Okay, in this country, we all know we are protected by the Second Amendment. We can all buy a gun and carry it, and keep it and bear it. But when we are in a similar situation like this, before we pull the trigger, we're going to think about, am I going to end up in jail for my lifetime? Okay, in that very moment, that tension or conflict, or when we feel threatened, we have to think, oh gosh, what if I'm charged sometime down the road, and I now make the wrong decision, or I'll be locked up for lifetime, right? The rippling effect will be there. The whole nation, everybody who bear guns will have to think about that. Then what would happen? Very naturally, they will not carry the gun outside, right? Think about that. You know, I go out, do whatever I need to do, including to secure my, for my own protection. But if the consequences, I could ended up in jail for my lifetime, I might as well not carry it, right? I think that's a natural fallout of it, natural thought. Then we look at the second, the first half, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. So folks, whether Kyle Rittenhouse, apparently he's playing the role of a militia, right? Whether he has the power or the right to defend with his gun and shooting people is not at the core of this, this trial. Okay, there's nothing to do with that. What has to do with is the self-defense. However, indeed, he took the action of being, try to play as a member of the militia to safeguard the business and just helping people, okay, as a private citizen. He's indeed carrying out the right as protected by the first half sentence of the Second Amendment. But if he were to find guilty, just think about how would each and every, militia intended private citizen think in the future, right? So because people carry the gun, try to protect their community, it's a good deed, right? When they do that, it's really just is for other people's benefit. It's not for themselves. But if they were to do that, and they ended up just like Kyle and Rittenhouse, ended up in jail for life sentence for whatever reason, people would, the risk really doesn't seem to be worth the benefit. I might as well just walk away from that, that self-given duty. Cathy, what do you think?
Yeah, so I just wonder how our audience thinks.
Yeah, what do you think? So essentially, my point of view is this, okay. If he were to find guilty, the whole base of the Second Amendment would be undermined. It will become, it will be emptied. Okay, we're gonna say that,
when the prosecutor brought the AR-15, to the court, right, and aimed it at the jurors with his finger on the trigger, it was like, what do you think it's his intention? We cannot guess his intention, but it's just so obvious, right? And his action already, nothing else. Without talking about anything else, how he hold the gun, how he put his finger on the trigger, and pointing to the jurors. How could it happen? Why they try to do that? Their aim is at the Second Amendment. To me, it's obvious, right?
Yeah, and just think about that. Now we have seen that if the verdict will be different, the role of a militia will be undermined, and people will not keep and bear arm as protected by the Second Amendment, because you keep and bear arm to use it, right? Not to show off, but now you cannot use it, or you don't know you can safely use it. People might as well, I just don't keep and I don't bear arms because it's too dangerous, too much stake for me. Another consequence would be like this, because gun is still illegal in this country. When good people stop bearing arms, bad people will continue doing so. Okay? Now the bad people will have much bigger firepower. What does that mean to our security? The security of our community. So that's a very natural fallout of that. The second thing at stake is this. Let me stop here a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we saw some comments. Yeah, comments. Louis left a, wrote a few. He was asking, why didn't anyone ask the prosecution witness how far he traveled to go to the riot and why he illegally brought a firearm to the riot? Yeah. That was a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the situation. And then now, actually, I want to more focus on something that you may find boring, already familiar with it, and so on and so forth. I want to talk about the jury. Okay, the matter of jury. We have all too used to the jury. Okay, I was called to the jury duty in the last 2 to 3 decades. So are my colleagues, and the people what are talking about is how to evade it. Right?
And you were actually on a case.
Right? On a murder case actually for 40 days. It's quite an effort. We have to take time to do it. Okay, so most of my colleagues talk about is, oh, how do I avoid that call, right? We got the letter,
Right.
I'm busy, I don't want to go, and so on and so forth, and then, oh, luckily I call, and then
They didn't choose me.
yeah,
or
they didn't choose me, and I'm off the hook, and things like that. Yeah, I think our country, okay, I'm talking about United States of America, we're too used to this. This is just our system. But the reason I really want to invite you to stop and think about it a little bit is this system was first started, mainly started by, first, of course, the England, okay, and then in the United States, in the early colonies. I want to just say a few words a little bit about the history of this system. Okay, so back then in the, how to say, well, back then in England, right, the king has his power, and then the parliament and the common people, they think that the king should not have all the power. The king is also concerned at that time, Henry II, that's in the 12th century. He's worried about that, at that time, who's the judge? Judge is the king or the judge appointed by the king, right? Naturally, they have very, very big power, okay? They say somebody is guilty, somebody's guilty. So the king, the Henry II, was a little concerned about that. So he think about, maybe I set up a system in which I don't have to delegate too much power, but still I can get the trial work done. All right. So what he does is he have the sheriff raise the charge, have the sheriff find a group of citizens, okay, in the community, in that village, who has good judgment and good character, okay, and then they're gonna hear the case, and then his justice would basically just guide them. Okay, would guide them without issuing the verdict. And finally, that jury in the original meaning means swear. Okay, they swear to uphold the law. Okay, so under the guidance of the justice, and then this group of people would make the verdict, and then afterwards the sheriff will carry out whatever was ruled. A little bit like today. Okay, and then in the Henry VI, the king, and then he enforced that, and then as the English Empire spread over the world, and then the system also carry with the colonization of the many regions in the world. And then in the 18th century, a very famous jurist, and his name is Blackstone. Blackstone is actually someone who really influenced the founding fathers of America back then. Okay, he highly complimented this system, and he said, this is just pick common people, use their common sense. That way, you prevent the case being interfered by the king, by the authority, and so that it can guarantee a fair trial. Founding fathers, okay, of this nation really love this idea. Okay, even before the Constitution was written, in all 13 colonies, they all implement this jury system. Needless to say, with our Constitution, they dedicate Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and the Seventh Amendment to this. All right, the Fifth Amendment pretty much said anybody being tried for a criminal case cannot be tried again. So in this case, Kyle Rittenhouse is acquitted. He's acquitted. They cannot appeal. They cannot try him again. Find another reason. And the Sixth Amendment says that in the criminal cases, anybody is entitled to a jury trial. And the Seventh said in the civil cases, anybody is entitled to a jury trial. So 12 common people pick up from the community, at that time from the village, and then later in the town or in the community, they use their common sense to judge the merit of this case and then make a verdict. What does that mean? I think we're all too used to it, but let me share with you my point of view. So what is common sense? Common sense of 12 citizens representing our community. It means it's the common sense of our community. What is the common sense of our community? What is right? What is wrong? That's the value, right? That's the value. So basically, it relies upon our moral value of our society. If that moral value is strong, the jury system will work. Okay, well, it will work. Nobody can reach out to them. Nobody can bribe them, and they don't gain anything from this verdict. And then people cannot reach out to them. They use their value system, which they derive their common sense from it. Then they make that decision. And it's such very, moral value actually in our, in the U.S. and in the U.K. derived from religion largely at that time. So that's how to come about, okay? So at this time, and in this particular case, indeed, this jury system is under stress. It could break, right? When people follow them, possibly they think about what would happen to me if I, issue a vote for acquittal, and what if there's a big riot? What if people, goes after me?
Yeah, in all those media reports.
Yeah, and in those media,
it's hard. I think it's hard for the jurors, not to really like read or watch, right? So will they be affected, and also the pressure from those protesters? Yeah. So
so indeed, now we all take a long breath. We say, "Wow, it's working out, and nothing's nothing bad happened." But at that time, just before 10 o'clock this morning in the U.S. West time, before that, we don't know. We don't know whether the jury can hold. It is a system for them to use their common sense, representing our community, make a common sense verdict. And then under that kind of stress, can it hold? Can it hold? We don't know. Whether it hold this time, whether it can hold next year, the year after, 10 years from now, I think it really has to do with the value of our society, right? Don't you think?
The moral value.
The moral value.
Yeah.
That's why the moral value is always so important. With the moral value, we have the courage to do the right thing. For the jury to do their right thing, and for us to do our right thing in our daily dealings, in all kinds of difficult situations as we more and more run into these days. So that's how I think, is test First, Second Amendment, it tests our jury system. And how important is jury system in our country, okay, to this country? I just want to read Thomas Jefferson's quote, okay? Thomas Jefferson, more than 200 years ago, he said this, okay? He said, I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man, by which the government can be held to the principles of its constitution. Okay, you can see that? I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man, by which the government can be held to the principles of its constitution. This is how relevant our jury system is. And this jury system went through its test in the last 3 weeks.
And after today's verdict, the judge actually made a comment to the jurors, saying that you are the best jurors that I have ever worked with. And he said just without commenting on their verdict, and he feels that the juror on this trial demonstrated that it's justified that the founding fathers placed confidence in them. And obviously the judge believes that the juror system works in this trial. I saw actually we have audience have different opinion. Mr. Drummings, he said, I'm sorry, I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse should be fully acquitted. This verdict sets a dangerous precedent for those who wish to peacefully protest. This doesn't bode well for America.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, that's apparently the other side of the point of view. But I do want to hear more from you.
Another viewer said but he think there was no peaceful protest.
Right.
That's the point.
So I think that for Mr. Drummings, first, thank you very much for sharing your point of view, and this is why we have this dialogue, right? And but indeed, that's what the jurors, those 12 people went through, and they also spent 26 hours to analyze whether I think what you express is a fear, right? It's a worry that whether peaceful protests will face this kind of fatal fatal shooting, okay? But if you just open it up and see what is in it, what triggered the event happen, what did first happen, and then I think only in that way we can draw accurate conclusion. not a general fear.
Yeah, and also I think especially when the jurors are facing, they would be deciding 18-year-old person, young man's life, right? Basically, it will decide whether he will spend the rest of his life in jail or just be normal, a free young man to go on with his life. They probably, really have to look at the facts, not the fear or the feelings.
Yeah.
I think that's very important for the jurors to what they should really look at.
So, okay, so a little thing, a unique point of view from me as Chinese American. Okay, so I want to compare this with what we have in China. In China, indeed, they got this 人民陪审员, right?
Yeah,
They got
people's jury.
People's jury. And they translate their wording, Chinese word, of course, into people's jury. And you think that they have a jury there. They don't. They don't at all. They just call them people's jury. Why? Because those people are appointed. They're appointed people by the government. They sit there. They always sit there. They're basically just professional. You can call them like an assessor or something like that. They're just another type of judges. But they call themselves people's jury because the term jury has been very popular now. Okay, so when one of my viewers was writing to me saying that whenever I got a jury call, what I want to do is how do I get away from this? I said I do understand your feeling, but just think about this: 1.4 billion people in China, they never got a chance. They never got a chance to serve as a jury, as a member of the society, would decide on the fate of another person. They don't have that opportunity. Yes, it will take your time. It will take your, you may lose some money, but that's our sacred duty as a citizen of this country. And also, I do want to raise another point, which is I do read an article on the web. This is a Chinese article, which analyzes why there are relatively much fewer, people were wronged by the court system in this country. In China, we've got so many of them, so many. Just huge number, even like 30, 40%, even 50%. Because the party just make the decision. And the decision, the court, behind the judge is the party. The party committee, the secretary. He's the boss of the boss. He's the boss of the judges. Motivation is protect the interests of the party or certain high-level officials. So it's very easy to wrong people. And why in this country we wrong people very rarely? Because think about that. That 12 common citizen, supposedly impartial, selected and agreed upon by both sides, they have to have consensus. Think about that, right?
Right.
12 people, after 26 hours deliberation, coming to the same conclusion, and they are all wrong. What's the chance of that? I'm not saying the chance is zero, but the chance is rather small. That's why in this country, this system indeed guarantee that it's not easy to wrong someone who's innocent.
Yeah, and especially when before, not so, it's unfortunate that not so much now, like the media are not so biased. So I think in this country, our citizens, our fellow Americans have a base for serving as jury, because if in China all the people got was state propaganda and all brainwashed, it would be hard for them to serve jury duty because one thing they will be really feared. There will be fear for their life if they just verdict some wrong thing, not according to the party line. A second is probably, in a lot of people's mind, they are not so clear about things because they are just brainwashed by the party-run propaganda. So it's the whole system, I think, is at work, right?
Yeah.
But now, unfortunately, those elite or corporate media, legacy media, whatever you call it, mainstream media, they are just very controlled, by radical left ideology. Then I think it's a danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so What do you think? Just type up your comment, and we want to know how you think. This is really just a dialogue. That's what we intend to do. So before we wrap up, I do want to reiterate Thomas Jefferson's point of view, and how he see this jury system. I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man, by which the government can be held to the principles of the Constitution. When the jury has the power, the government does not, right? The jury has the sole power to decide, whether a man is guilty or not. And also another, the French statesman, I don't know whether you're familiar. I study U.S. history. I'm always familiar with this name, Alex de Tocqueville. Tocqueville. He's French jurist, right? And so he traveled in the U.S. in the 1830 and see enough of this country. He went back. He wrote his book, which became very, very popular in Europe. That's how Europeans at that time got to know, this newborn country called the United States of America, what it's like. And Tocqueville gave just very high praise of this country in many, many aspects. So one thing is about its jury system, okay? And he said not only does the institution of the jury help improve the law, it help improve the jurors too. Because through participating in this process, people learn about the law, and then they become wiser, they become more mature, they can become more responsible. All right?
Right.
And so again, from the, I think, through this trial, what we can reflect upon this, our jury system, it held, and then it held because the private citizen is doing their job, and we're all those private citizens, and we have to realize our own duty, and we have to realize this system, put forth by our founding fathers, who learned from 2,000 years, precious experience. We need to treasure what we have. We need to treasure America. As a newcomer of this country, I want to, remind all my fellow countrymen, we need to treasure what we have. Not many countries have something that we have.
Yeah, while we feel there are a lot of maybe imperfectionists in this country, but really a lot of things, the rights of people, we don't have it anywhere else, especially in those totalitarian regime like China. I saw quite a few of our audience responding to Mr. Drumming's statement. Yeah, some saying Kyle was there to protect people to peacefully protest. And then there is some audience, I cannot recognize the names, but it was just saying what tweeted by the actress Mia Farrow, saying, so anyone can come to a protest, just march down the middle of the street with a massive gun and kill people. I think it's like, it's really stating the fact that what it was stating is not the same as what happened in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, right? You cannot just radicalize something, saying, then to use that to say the verdict was not correct.
Okay, so the final bit of news, I don't know whether you know, okay, so people were very concerned about where is this young guy going, okay? And his attorney and his spokesman said he's almost like only happy moment. He's got his student ID from the
Arizona State University.
The nursing, nursing program of the Arizona State University. So he will be going there, attending college as a nursing major student. In the meantime, at least 2 congressmen is trying to grab him to to serve as their intern. So we'll see what happens. This young man indeed survived a lot of things. 15 months shadow overhead that he may be locked away for his lifetime for 15 months. That's not easy. Right?
Yeah. And the lawyers was saying that he would imagine the family, Kyle, his mom and the sister probably won't be able to live in Wisconsin anymore. Just think about the consequences. But the family spokesperson said that he's expecting that there will be good things to come out from Kyle Rittenhouse. He certainly has things to say, to talk about. So we may just expect what he will be talking about. And he just said they are just relieved that he can be innocent. He's proven to be innocent, can live a free life now. But he also said there's no winner in this case because there are lives lost. So, but he emphasized that it really reflects that the country needs dialogue, needs discussion on a lot of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's why we're here discussing about those things.
Yeah. So it's not a good thing. People died, but the country went through this trial, and what I just want to remind everybody: just treasure what we have. It's a system that people fought, and many people died 250 years ago. We have this country. We have the jury system we have. Even it may not be perfect, but it's way much better than what we have in China and in many other countries. So treasure what we have, and serve our duty, and serve the God, and that's what I'll say.
Yeah, and I think last thing is our founding father said that the Constitution only works if the people have virtue.
Yeah.
Right. Think something like that.
Yeah, indeed, we are relying upon the common sense of those jurors who are really common citizen. If our value, not their value, our value dropped, this jury system will fall apart. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your comments there.
Yeah, please press the like and subscribe, and then that little bell. If you don't click on that, they do not necessarily. If they do not necessarily, send notification to all the subscribers.
Yeah, actually, we've been told constantly by our viewers they were unsubscribed by the system here. But please, if you don't receive our notification, just unsubscribe and subscribe again. And another thing is to sign up on Safe Chat. Like some of our audience, they just sign up on both. So, because sometimes the topic we really only have to just talk about it on Safe Chat.
Yeah, we just have to have another option. All right, thank you very much. Your loyal Chinese American journalist, Wei and Cathy.
Yeah, have a really great weekend. And take care. We'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, all right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.